Legit album cover.
That's hot.
Yeah.
That's hot.
Looks like video mic muted. There goes the mic. Here comes.
Hi, guys.
Oh, there we go.
Hello.
How are you guys?
We're doing great. What's going on with you all?
Man, happy to see you guys.
Nice to meet y'all.
Yeah, where are you guys actually at right now? Did you make it to Cincy or?
Yeah, we're home.
We're Covington, Kentucky. So if you know
Nice.
Cincy that well, we're right across the river where Willie's Sports Bar used to be, and they demolished that. So we live kind of like right there.
Oh, I used to go to Willie's.
It's gone. It's just like Roman ruins.
No.
Yeah, it's destroyed and it's graffiti everywhere, and there's like wet, nasty blankets and garbage, and definitely some sort of weirdo hangout. But then the Lexus dealership is putting their overflow cars there, so that makes it a kind of a combination of really nasty and really at the same time.
Yeah.
Luxurious porta potties, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Oh, that could be bad.
Welcome.
I hear that going through that a lot right now.
Welcome to A Tribe Called Chum.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is great.
We're so excited to have you. I mean,
yeah, well, Ryan spoke fairly highly of you guys. I just saw a little of the podcast with him. We saw him last night. Actually, we were hanging out with him down in Jeffersonville, Indiana. So it's good to catch up.
Ryan's a good friend of mine. I went to school with him at U of L.
Oh, really?
Nice.
Also, many other people that you have been involved with, but we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Give us your background if you don't mind. Where you from? How'd you meet?
Sure.
You
Musical
first, ladies first.
I grew up in Rust Belt town, Zanesville, Ohio, and it was a cool place to grow up and everything. But then Jeff's a city boy, so we're very different in our upbringings.
I grew up I was born in DC and grew up in Silver Spring, Maryland, Albany, Silver Spring area, Rockville.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we met at Ohio University.
I want to say that's Dave Chappelle territory.
Chappelle is actually.
Well, he was in DC.
Yeah.
A suburb right out. I forget the suburb though.
Mm-hmm.
I think we pretty much follow each other because Dave Chappelle lives in just north of here near Dayton in Yellow Springs, Ohio now, and
he's got a spot.
A lot of our production guys worked for him over the summer. He put a lot of people in Cincinnati to work that were out of work to do that stream show that he had.
Dude, the stream show that he did was so brilliant. I love it.
Yeah,
perfect opportunity though, like having big acreage in the middle of nowhere. Like he did it right. It was great.
One of our friends who's a songwriter was up there performing, and Chappelle came to his show. This is many years ago. Came to his show and
bought one of his CDs.
A couple of his CDs. Yeah, it's just it's really true. He hangs out up there, and he's just Dave. He's another guy in the community.
Yeah. That's so awesome.
Yeah, I know.
Well, that's why he connects, is because he's just another guy.
Yeah. But I didn't think I even realized that he grew up near me, but there you go. So I grew up in Maryland, and we both met at Ohio University, both in Athens, Ohio. And we were both in the audio production and in production school over there.
What's the town that's in?
Athens, Ohio.
Yeah. Athens. Okay.
It's awesome. Gotcha. Very awesome spot. Such a great time. I always totally encourage people to go there because not only is it, just a good school for being a good school, and the program's awesome if you're in production or music or anything, but obviously the town is just, a party town in a good way.
It's like a little hippie town, especially in the 90s when it really had its hippie group going on.
That's important to the college vibe. I think. Going to a college like a Louisville, for example, you know what I mean? It's not the same as a Bloomington or a Ada, Ohio Northern, I think is in Ada, Ohio, which is like a cornfield. That's where you want to be. You want to be out where you can be a little debaucherous and get a little wild.
But also have like clout, but also have like a good program.
Yeah, it was fantastic for what we had for the production school. That was one of the few places in the nation that was really, I think, had a full recording studio.
I've heard about their program. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's fantastic. So Jeff Redifer, who was both our professor, he ended up being in our wedding, and we just became good friends with him over the year. He had a nice record and nice past with Pure Prairie League, and had a lot of experience on the road with them. Actually played with them, a few times. I don't know
Another band.
or if it was when the other guys were partying too hard and he had to fill in, but Jeff's a good dude, and we had a great time there, and both got degrees in audio production. She was working in public radio at WLUB, and I was working in public television.
Wow.
Doing back then what is called duty directing, and that's where you
what is that? Yeah,
it doesn't sound very exciting, does it?
No, it sounds fascinating. I just want to know
like
exactly
it is. President of a porta potty company is the duty director.
You basically put VHS tapes of Mr. Rogers in after Barney and watch a countdown and hit play when you're supposed to hit play.
Yeah, like I had the button of death. If I wanted to turn Mr. Rogers off, I could push the button and it would be completely gone to all of southeastern Ohio. Gone.
So you're Max Headroom is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Well, now it literally is Max Headroom. More machine now than man. The duty director is obviously now just automated, just like everything else. So, but I had no idea what I was getting into with that because I was more of into audio, doing audio and recording. And then next thing you know, the only thing they had a job in the summer was this TV station. And so I was working there. Learned a lot there. I loved it. And she worked in radio, so we kind of crossed each other's paths a few times. And then here we are all these years later.
What about your musical background? What you grew up listening to? What that sort of thing? What are you into now? What influenced your sound in particular?
I'm all over the board.
I love that, by the way. Eclectic musicians are the best.
Yeah, I grew. I think just growing up in the time period on pop stations, there was a lot of crossover between genres and stuff like that. So. Yep. I mean, I grew up with all the classic rock stuff, all the classic Motown.
Were you hitting Hanson concerts too, though?
Oh, heck no. I was way too old for that.
Okay. Some new kids maybe then.
I was already grown. I was moved on. But
I understand.
And then I think, I sort of always have gone back and forth between like oldies and then really selective and modern rock. But I really love soul music too. Like I love Aretha Franklin and Etta James and
Otis Redding,
Wilson Pickett, all the stuff from Muscle Shoals,
everything
out of there. Yeah. But certainly really rooted in sort of like classic rock, I would say, is where I started like getting influenced, I would say.
Yeah, same thing here. I grew up. I remember my earliest, being driven to preschool, listening to Lay Down Sally, and I remember the big bong sound, bong, and with the Pinball Wizard, and that was fascinating to new ears. These new sounds that you've never heard because you've just been born not too long ago, and they, wow, so fascinated by those things. And the first concert I ever went to, my father pulled me out of little league football in third grade.
Hell yeah!
And all the kids were like, lucky. It was Prince on the Purple Rain tour. So I saw Prince in '84 at the Capitol Center.
Are you kidding me?
What a first show!
It was
Prince
awesome.
Is one of my all-time favorites.
Oh man, so you'll love this story then.
I played Prince at Red Rocks.
Nice.
Here in Colorado. It was the most like amazing experience. We covered all of Purple Rain.
Yeah,
it was like so amazing. I love Prince.
Yeah, I was listening to that album every single day I get home from school, just every day listen to it. But so we get, we get to the concert and we're probably, he got on the floor, obviously completely sold out. This is in the middle of the biggest time to see him. And I think we were maybe, I want to guess at this time, probably like 30 rows back. It was enough to where Sheila E. came out. And as soon as she came out, everyone's on their feet. And so here's this third grade kid, my brother's, only a few years older than I am. And he's there and we just can't see anything, I mean, it's just like, what are we going to do? All I could see were these glow in the dark sticks in between people's hands, and my dad just kind of complained, maybe nicely to an event staff person, and said, look, my kids are here, is you guys have anything else, any other place to go for seating? So the guy, they totally hooked us up. So by the time Sheila E. was done, they put us in handicap seating, side stage. So there's like the main stage, and then there's just like a railing right off of the sides. And that's where we were put. And it was just, my first concert was literally right next to the stage. Yeah, not literally on stage, but you know, in Purple Rain, when he shoots his Telecaster looking guitar and shoots the water out, I was hit with that. So I mean, it's like, I was kind of that was my baptism in rock and roll, you know, actually getting squirted on by Prince. And
dude, that's like the greatest baptism of all time.
Oh, it's amazing. You know, and not only that, you know, there's those things where you say, you know, as a kid, you're like, is he looking at me? You know, because he kept looking over our way, and then he totally was, and he just like, you know, he's singing and you stared, and he gives you that big brown eye look that everybody knows about, you know, and he just like, and then, you know, of course, I'm in third grade.
You don't know how to read it. You don't know exactly what he's like what is saying he with his eyes. But...
Yeah. So he
he's probably thinking, does your dad have any idea what's coming in Act 2?
Yeah. Yeah. Right, exactly. And then he went into temptation, right? Yeah. You're talking about sexual temptation. No, but he totally was looking at me. So you know, and then I blushed and started smiling, and then, you know, he smiled and kind of went away and did a little jam, and he, you know, obviously has these giant wardrobe thingy, so he pulls some sort of lacy
fringe or something
thing off of his shoulder and then throws it at me, and then I just got trampled by all these fans that grabbed it, you know, and I was all right, but you know, I never got it. And I just remember looking back a few rows, and there's this lady with like a flashlight staring at it, just like, oh my god. But yeah, first concert,
she forgot all about trampling you for sure.
Yeah. But you know, the final part of this story is that my dad, you know, so my dad's like, okay, the event guy told me he's doing Purple Rain. It's going to be half an hour. So we're going to leave, you know, we're going to leave when they're in the middle of Purple Rain and get ahead of the crowd. So they start Purple Rain and we're walking out, you know.
We're not fucking leaving.
No, it was killer though. What a time. That was awesome.
Hell yeah. When did you start playing?
Yeah, 8th grade. So that was, you know, talk about diverse. You know, I like everything from Megadeth to John Denver. So, you know, I remember my brother got a guitar, and like when he wasn't around, I started stealing it. And, you know, I started to learn this tablature thingy, and White Lion came out with Big Game.
Yep.
And there was a song called Little Fighter, which just Vito Bratta was such an amazing Eddie Van Halen-esque guitar player. And so it was like right at that time, I want to be able to do that. I want to do that.
Right.
And you know, so my first thing I ever learned in tablature was Little Fighter by White Lion. Then it was, you know, then the Eagles, you know, my mom was really into Eagles and things like that. So I think most of the 90s, I didn't listen to really too much other than the Eagles, you know, we were pretty much nonstop.
Well, they had that big comeback in the 90s.
Yeah, well, that too. And that was so like I was already into them, and then that happened, and, you know, and then.
Yeah, I was a big Megadeth fan.
Well, now I just
Megadeth, rest in peace.
I have to live with this for a few more years.
Yeah. Master of Puppets was the first
Nothing
tab I tried to learn.
Was it?
Master of Puppets was the first tab, like guitar tab I tried to learn, and that was not a good place to start. But I still know the opening 4 seconds. You know what I mean?
Yeah, my hope for it, you know, is like nice acoustic guitar stuff, and then Marty. I'm trying to remember his Marty. I can't remember Marty's name. That's so bad of me. And Megadeth, but what a guitar player! He just smoked. Marty Friedman, Marty Feldman. It's
Marty
I want to say Friedman.
Marty Feldman's one of my favorite actors.
Yeah, I want to say Friedman. F-R-E-I.
Yeah.
Ryan's an expert looker.
Well, Marty Friedman and Marty Feldman are two of my favorites.
That would be a good band.
We're talking about Young Frankenstein. We're talking about like The Hobbit.
Dave Mustaine was a god back then, if you ask me.
Man.
Who was it?
Yeah, that
Dave
was another
Mustaine.
Life-changing thing about wanting to sing and play. You know, seeing Dave Mustaine do Hangar 18. You know, and here's this a guitar riff that's dun 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 dun. You know, and it just keeps going. And he's playing that and singing at the same time. And you know, I'm like, how can I do that? I have no, you know, I can't walk and chew gum at the same time. I was just so amazed by that. So.
I already have two hands going.
Right.
What do you do?
Right.
It's fast. It's like 180 beats per minute. It's fast.
Oh
yeah.
It gets moving.
Yeah. So that was definitely a life-changing album for me. You know, went to Berklee College of Music in high school for their summer performance program just to learn all the Malmsteen sweeps and you know, all of that kind of stuff. And that was great. You know, there was
learned
just
a lot.
A diverse amount of people there. You know, the songwriting class was awesome.
Yeah, a lot of diverse people. You learned a lot, right?
It was, because you have, I was just actually talking to Ryan about this last night. You know, the coolest part of Berklee was they do, I think it was on Mondays for that entire 6-week period, they would have an assembly in the main auditorium or concert hall or wherever it is. And everybody had to go to that, you know, and it would be a different type of music every time or different theme. So I remember one was like prodigies, you know, there were these kids that were, you know, come from all over the world to be a part of that 6-week program, and they featured these prodigies, you know, and they were just amazing. You know, then there was the gospel night. That was the first time I ever experienced gospel, you know, and
wow,
the Megadeth long hairs, you know, the jazz guys, you know, everybody that was there, you know, from all walks of life. Just you remember that commercial with Maxell where the guy's head's blown, you know, hair's blowing, and he's sitting in the chair listening to the speaker.
right?
That's what happened, you know. I mean, everyone was
the gospel
so floored away by the gospel choir that they put together, and I mean,
so it's not necessarily the message; it's the
it's the energy. There's an energy
sound.
that's never going to capture in recording. Ever. You're never going to capture that in a recording, and that was the first time I felt anything like that. And you know, there wasn't a person in there that was like, nah, it was okay. You know, everybody was like tears and just like, yeah. I just remember the guy in the Megadeth shirt like going, oh yeah.
I actually that was exactly my upbringing. I was raised by my grandparents, so they were hardcore bluegrass gospel. Wow. And their youngest son, which is my uncle, was your Iron Maiden, your Dawkins, your Megadeth. You know what I mean? So I grew up listening to Bill Monroe and hardcore bluegrass, and then just got introduced to that banjo turned into speed metal real quick.
Yeah.
And then I like went the reggae route. You know what I mean? Reggae ska, like went through that whole phase.
Totally. Well, I mean, seriously, we listened to Steve Miller, into Bob Marley, into John, into Megadeth, into Nirvana. I remember working in pizza, and it was just like, you know, the pizza place I worked at in high school, and you know, every minute it was a completely different style of music, and you know, I began to appreciate a lot about that, you know. And,
so that would you say that directly? This is a dumb question in the sense that it obviously influenced you. The direct influences you had on your life, gospel, heavy metal, pop, soul, all of those things influenced your style,
right?
Even and still do to this day,
right?
I mean, is that fair to say?
Oh yeah, without question. You know, it was the idea of understanding a dynamic and energy, you know, and how can we create that type of power? And you know, as we've gotten older, you know, one of the things I realized, it's, you know, so many people try to push so hard to achieve that. And that's not how it works. It's almost like you need to pull back, you know, you need to pull back and get these little
rely on your own moments.
And then everybody feels
me there.
They have to either giggle or they have to try to pick up the conversation. But those little moments of pause can equate to something really special. You know, an acoustic, if you're playing an acoustic set in a bar, you know, we did a lot of open mics, you know, I think we really cut our teeth together as a duet at an open mic at the Southgate House here in Newport.
I've been there many times. I saw Blonde Redhead there. I saw so many bands there.
Yeah, great play. Levon Helm, I saw him there.
Yeah, I haven't seen him play, but no, that would be awesome.
Oh yeah, it was awesome.
But anyhow, you know, you get these moments where people are obviously turned the other way. It's an open mic and they're talking and beers are clanking, you know, and then, you know, we'd try to gospel them up by either inserting that little bit of silence, and then everybody turns to see what's wrong, and then you go boom, you know, with a big chord or something.
Yes.
So that's how those type of things would have influenced, I think, you know. But there's just so many more things at Berkeley. The songwriting class with Jimmy Kachulis explaining to you, you know, we got three chords in the song right here. Here's a song. It's G, C, and D. And it goes, how can we be lovers if we can't be friends? How can we start over if the fighting never ends? How can we make love if we can't make amends? These are hit songs, folks, you know. And why do these three chords work the way they do and make this hit song? And why do you write the same three chords and they don't work for you? So we need to talk about these things and put them together and try to come up with something.
So we need to talk about Tom Petty.
Yeah, Tom Petty, the Rolling Stones, you know, of course. That was cool.
I mean, not just blues. I mean, Tom Petty too. Like, why does that work?
Yeah, why does it work? Yeah, there's so many whys. Why do we play
so many whys?
And that's the third against a major third in blues.
Yeah, being in blues, being a musician. Like, why does pacing work?
Right.
You know.
Right. Yeah. And what is it about this 4/4 that we can't get away from?
So how do you do that in your own music? Like think about pacing, not necessarily about chords. I mean, I would love to talk about chords. I'm a classical composer, but I would also love to talk about like how you figure out pacing in context. Like how do you, I don't know how to word that. I'm just saying like pacing is key for an audience, and it's different for a recorded audience
Yeah.
than it is for a live audience.
Right.
So in a live audience, you're going to have to like provide some filler because there might be unexpected scenarios.
Yeah.
But you know, how do you regulate that?
I think that we went through a time period where, and it's probably my fault, where when we did shows, I had this saying I always said, every song's a closer. Because I wanted to just
I like that idea.
Just be hitting people over the head all the time, you know, and when you're also, you know, playing in festival situations where you might get cut off, you know, you never feel like, oh, we got cut off when we weren't giving it everything, you know. So I was like, every song's got to have the energy of a closer. But I think now, when you look at the audience, they need some relief every now and then. So they like having a ballad, you know, in there, or an acoustic song, or a little, you know, acoustic song 2 sets there, or something, just to kind of like break the mood and give them a chance to relax. And
as a pianist, I love a ballad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm always surprised how many men love ballads. You know, to me, it just seems like it wouldn't have like.
That's totally fair. That's totally fair.
That's totally what I was going to say, though.
I love ballads.
Men love ballads. Like this is new information to me in the last few years. I'm like, what? Every like macho guy I know, they're like, oh my gosh, we love all the love songs.
This may sound like a dumb, like non-musical guy's comparison to a ballad here, but I always describe ballads as like the chase of the courting of men. You know what I mean? Like that's what a ballad feels like.
It's the court. It's the
and that's why we're attracted to it. I think it's the description of us courting. Our chase. You know, it's weird.
Exactly. It's courting a chase. It's not necessarily courting anything else, but then it's courting something that we love.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you know, I there's a couple things I think of when you talk about pacing. So like. Again, so let's just on this idea of ballads, you know, getting used to the notion that you shouldn't be afraid to play the ballad because you don't think it's going to go over well in the bar or whatever, you know, just play it and then utilize those dynamics in a way to make people listen, you know, when they usually wouldn't, or,
Absolutely.
you know, and just because they're sitting there and not doing it doesn't mean they're not absolutely loving it. And so pacing
that's okay though.
Yeah, correct. Pacing from a set or an album order, you know, that's where you can take absolutely from the Eagles, for example. So like, you know, when they did Hell Freezes Over, their format in terms of how to put that set list together was punch them in the face with a couple hits, you know, or upbeat hits, you know, open with Hotel California, play another upbeat song. And then they go into these ballads. They go into like 6 ballads. I Can't Tell You Why, a New Kid in Town, you know, things like that are slower, and don't be afraid to stick with it for a little bit. And then, you know, from there, your pace starts picking up and you go into the upbeat songs. And by the end, you have all these upbeat songs at the back, and it's just bam, 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 bam.
But pace demands another ballad.
What's that?
Pace demands another ballad at some point.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And even bands that didn't maybe play, you know, quote unquote ballads, like let's say like the Grateful Dead or something like that, they would utilize their improvisation to kind of get that same feel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You got to give a guy a chance to get another beer.
but right there you go, pee break. It's time to play a new song now. I've always feel bad for
they
like
still want to hear you, but they got to get another beer and piss, you know.
I really want you to listen to this song, but I understand you have to have another beer.
Right.
Yeah, you know, seeing John Fogerty in Vegas, I think about that. He played some awesome new tunes, you know, and there was just all these people just get up, you know, and wiggle up the steps, and it's like, stop, no.
That's the bar band thing. Is like as soon as you want somebody to take a pee break, you say, "This is an original."
Yeah, I guarantee it.
But I think the secret to the pacing and being, you know, I don't know, second guessing yourself with it too, is doing that, like I said, with the Eagles, where you take a page from somebody else. Or so like some of the new songs we have, one of the songs on the band and the album that just came out today. It's called All Right by Me. And that song sounds nothing like Bobby Womack, but I was listening to Bobby Womack and he just passed away, like right when I was writing that song. And
wow.
Bobby is this Daylight, the song Daylight, which has got a, it's a really groovy tune. And so that feel, that pace that he had in that song, you know, what I click it out in Pro Tools and then I take his feel and then I start turn it off and then start writing a completely different song based on getting in the vibe of that tempo, you know. And so that creates, and then you create your own work around that, and you know, you'll hear the song, it doesn't sound anything like Bobby Womack, but at least it got me somewhere, and I was really happy with the end result for it, you know.
Yeah. I
Where
like
can
the
I
same
find
thing
that?
with comedy writing. It's all premise based, but you know, there can be 15 comedians doing a joke about one premise because there's so many different, you know, basically jazz techniques you can use to find your own way through it. It's pretty fascinating. How much stuff have you thrown away, like song wise? How many times have you like, this is trash? Let me throw this right in the garbage.
For me, all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. Yeah. It's I, you know, compared to Jeff and the rest of the guys in the band, I certainly am not. When we first started the band, I should say, I didn't have the experience that they had as a musician or really even as a songwriter. I thought I had some promise, but I hadn't developed far enough as a musician yet, I think, to do what I am capable of now. Let's say that. And so along the way, everything I thought was crap, and I also thought that it sounded like every other song. So I had a real problem with even if there was like if there were two notes simultaneous or back to back, and I could hear another song use those two notes back to back, I would throw it away because I thought I was copying somebody.
Wow, I want to jump in on that because that is exceptional, and the way you think about your own influence on music, on life, on whatever it is. I mean, in my experience, like you end up having those connections that always happen in your memory. And there's no way to get around that.
Right.
Like we are a product of our influences. That's never going to change.
It's like when you name something, you instantly think of other people you know with that name or other things with it. You're like, nope, can't name it that because so and so's got a dog named Charlie or whatever. Yeah, I get it.
I'll move beyond here because I think both of you have gotten to the point where you're doing something original, but I also believe that, you know, we are a product of our influences, and there's no denying that. There's no getting away from it. But if you go through the process, and I've talked about this on the podcast many times before, if you go through the process and understand your influences and practice and do what you are required to do as a musician, then you inevitably end up with something original. Yeah. And I think that's what I see in you all right now as American, quote unquote, songwriters. I mean, you are American. So the quote unquote doesn't mean anything at all. I'm just like American songwriting. It's a genre that's a thing, but you are a product of so many different influences and you can't deny those. Like, but that's interesting that initially you were not okay with it.
No, I wasn't.
Misty?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I certainly wasn't. And then someone, I don't know if is it Woody Guthrie who said it or Pete Seeger, you know, one of these great folkies said, they can beat me up in the comments if they want, said, just take it. Just take it because
absolutely.
There's only 12 notes. I mean, you can only use them in so many different ways, you know, and just take it. And,
hip hop.
I had a hard time doing that, but I can only write so many notes.
I can't help myself sometimes, you know. I admire some of my friends, you know, the John Mellencamp's of the world that, you know, can churn out a hit like Jimmy Kachula said, you know, with these 3-chord songs, and they're just so their own song. You know, when Night Moves from Bob Seger comes on and that guitar riff happens, it's iconic, and it's the same 3 chords that 8 trillion people use. But what is it about that, you know, that makes it what it is? You know, and so I always find unfortunately and fortunately that I do what the Beatles call color chords. If I always find that I need to add, I just can't help myself. I got to add a fourth, and then a fifth shows up, and but it's just the way I write, I guess.
You just gotta like sometimes you just have to acknowledge that there are 12 keys on the keyboard.
Yeah, right.
And introducing certain keys at a certain opportune moment is not a bad thing. There are things that you can do, and that's what defines genres.
Yeah,
like there's the blues with the seventh. We understand all that kind of stuff, but there are other genres where we have to add chord tones, and added chord tones are not a bad thing.
Right.
I love it, especially the major ninth, the second.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anytime you're just gonna do
right.
So that's a suspended fourth with an added second. Yep. I love that chord.
Yeah. Prince, there's your Prince right there. There's your Sting.
Yeah, absolutely right.
The Sting's writing is almost all 9 chords.
Yes.
And it's beautiful. And then the way you layer that chord can make it sound like something completely different.
And that's the key, because texture is key.
Yeah, and tension, and there's from Around the World in a Day, there's a Prince song called The Ladder on there, and I think that's in it's in D sharp, and so it's almost all black keys, and so I learned it when I was a kid, but the chord, the movement in that song, and the way that he goes from it seems pretty straightforward, but it's just got a lot of nice tension in it, and he goes from I think an A down to an A flat at one point, and it's a really beautifully well written song. But we were always, as kids growing up, me and my friend who was a musician as well, JJ, we were always, what are those chords? You got to figure out how he's doing these deep, thick chords. Eric Johnson.
It's always in context, though, right? I mean, the context of the chord is the most important.
Yeah.
Like ultimately, whatever you're trying to say through the words that you're singing.
Yeah.
The chords have to have place there too. And so everything in context. So we can rip anything out of context and say Prince did this, or Tom Petty did this, or anything like that. But what makes it original is the fact that we are original people, people of creation, who, I'm not saying that from a religious standpoint. I'm just saying we are people who choose to create. And we put our creation into context with the words and the chords that we choose to create. And that's a beautiful fucking thing.
Right. Right. Yeah. I'm trying to think of, there's another song. Oh, maybe it's Daniel. I think Daniel by Elton John, and I think The Ladder.
That's a great song.
Those would get me into playing piano, and there was nobody around to play piano, so I had to learn myself, and count the notes. And I'm still not a very good reader. But
how do you feel about Billy Joel? I'm sorry, Billy Joel. I'm not a huge fan. I'm just there's some Billy Joel that I really love. I do. But
oh man, when
as a pianist, I'm I'd rather have Elton John.
I love Billy Joel. I think he's fantastic.
I respect that.
Elton John. Love Elton John. They're both just so amazing. When I graduated college, I ended up working in radio as well. Just trial by fire. I got a radio job as a midday disc jockey. She was the morning disc jockey there, the Bad Mama Jam on Power 105 WX.
Oh yeah.
Hell fucking yeah.
Yeah. And the cool thing is, you're always having to talk little tidbits about the artist you're playing. And so, we had all these Billboard chart books, and I went through them, and I started thumbing through them and looking at who were the hit makers, and what was their pattern, and the Bee Gees, the Eagles, Elton John, Stevie Wonder, Billy Joel, these guys cornered the freaking market. When you look at the history of rock and roll through a Billboard book, just how they all
pianists
figured out figured out the way to succeed, and there was that business.
That's a hard fucking thing to do as a pianist.
Yeah.
In rock and roll.
That's exactly what Jay Dilla did. that's what Jay Dilla, and why Jay Dilla became so huge, is he spent so much time focusing on like, okay, which of these like set artists, just studio artists, drummers, whatever, fillers, who's killing it, who's on everything.
Mhm.
I'll tell you something else about Jay Dilla. Jay Dilla. So everyone talks about, if you're going to go to a desert island and have only one catalog of music, Jay Dilla would be my catalog of music. No.
Yeah, for sure.
But see, that's the thing, is that ultimately, like we are a product of our influences, and we all like want to create something original. And the fact of the matter is, we try every day, and some people succeed, some people don't, and that's totally fair.
Yeah.
But my view is that even the people who try end up succeeding.
Eric Johnson.
I like that.
Yeah.
Because it takes a lot of guts to even try.
It does. It
and
does.
When we were hosting open mic nights and going to open mic nights for this like a decade regularly, I was always blown away by the amount of talent here in greater Cincinnati. I mean, it's just immense. And my friend Dave was like, yeah, for every one of us that's out here has the guts to do it, there's 100 of them at home that still can't get out the front door.
Yeah.
Amen.
Like, wow, there's so much talent that you never know.
There's so many murderers, like straight up hardcore musician like
so many murderers who are
also so many murderers.
Somebody.
They just so don't leave the house.
Like as an artist, like we have to get artists out. Artists need to be forefront. We need to be paid. We don't need to and we'll get to this, but you're talking about the band in the van stuff. It's beautiful. It's so fucking gorgeous. But like, let's talk about that. Like how can we get people to that point where they can just pursue something through passion? Because it's not their own passion exclusively. It is their passion that has been accrued over many years of their life. This is something that is innately them.
Yeah.
So how do you like embolden people to get them to that point where they can take that risk?
I think you set an example for one. Well, it's like, here I am.
Fuck it comes to mind. I mean, literally, fuck it. Fuck it all.
2020, fuck it.
And that's what happened with us, this last year. And even in open mic, there's a point, we started going to open mics in around 2000, at the Southgate House. And I was in a band that was signed. And we had an album coming out of Dayton, and it was falling apart as it was coming together.
What year was that?
2000, right around 99 to 2000, and it was on a little label called Smokehouse Records.
I know that label.
And we were in a band. I was in a band called TV Yellow, and our band in college was Kid Charlemagne, and we had to change our name because that's a Steely Dan song. But it was a great run. We had a lot of fun. I'm still friends with all these guys, and Sean, the singer, the main singer in that group, he's in our 70s rock and romance show. We've brought him back. Amazing singer, can sing all that Boston and high notes just like you wouldn't imagine. So
your point is that when we went to open mics, you couldn't play as an individual.
Correct. Yeah, you couldn't play as an individual. But I was also frustrated that I knew how to play 60 songs in my band, but I could barely get through 3 songs on my own. And that's where I'm at about fuck it. It's like, why should I care about what people think at an open mic? It was more like the Mos Eisley spaceport. Every walk of life is there. There's one guy clanging spoons. And then everyone's doing.
And you might have to pull a gun on someone.
Yeah, and it was great. It was the perfect environment. And I'm not talking down on anybody. It was actually perfect because everyone's there for the same reason. You have nothing to lose. We're not getting paid for this gig, so we just kind of got into it and we did say, screw it. Let's play things that are harder than our ability, and let's keep learning songs. And
I read on your website that was over a decade ago, right? I mean, you guys have been doing this for a while.
This band we started in 2004, so I guess coming
that's
up. That's
amazing.
Yeah, long time.
And you've been in bands previous to that, but this is the band that has lasted basically the longest, right?
Yeah.
Because we're married, and so as long as we're going to be, married and making music, chances are we're going to be collaborating.
Well, you have a strong collaboration.
Thank you. So, a few folks have come and gone over the years, but they come back.
As any bands do.
Yeah.
But they're not all gone. I think we're more like the Goonies. Once you're a Goonie, you're a Goonie.
Yes.
You met a lot of those on your trip, man.
Yeah.
Dude, a ton of awesome people, dude. You guys interacted with. I was super blown away by that in particular.
Yeah.
Just fucking cool people everywhere.
Everywhere.
There really
It
are.
makes me want to leave the house on occasion.
Yeah, I know. But that was it. And then the other idea about inspiring, I think, what if we all just set a business model that this is heaven, this is it. We already are in heaven. I feel like I'm not that religious, but I feel like when I go around this world, I see so much we're not paying attention to, and instead we're curled up in our little houses, and especially last year, everybody's curled up in their house. But what if this is it, and we're all taking it for granted?
What if we can use?
If you knew that you had X amount of days to be on this planet, and you knew that afterwards that was it, how would you treat your life differently? And so that old phrase about living while you're alive and sleeping when you're dead is absolutely a business model everybody should live by. Why are we not? What if this is all there is? So
I'm with you there.
I think ever since we've kind of embraced that idea with life, we've definitely had a much more interesting and full life, and it seems to rub off on people. And we somehow, the whole model I always joke about is I do this and I sing, and then somebody comes up and goes, "You can do that? Would you like to come here and do that?" And you're like, "You mean if I do this, I can go there?" Okay, I'll go there. And the next thing you know, you're all over the place.
Even if it's freaking Oklahoma, you're like,
yeah.
Oh yeah, I'll go there.
Go to Oklahoma if I do this. Yes.
Yeah.
Cool places in Oklahoma.
Yeah,
I love Oklahoma. I've been there many times.
Hunter S. Thompson's view on that was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Justin, go.
Oh yeah, I was just saying that Hunter S. Thompson quote about just diving into the grave with just the most abused meat bag you can possibly muster. You know what I mean? Just it's all you got, so might as well abuse the fuck out of it while you got.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm with that philosophy for sure.
Alex, our bass player's got a pretty good philosophy too, about treating life like you're a child at a fair, and how many green tickets is it going to take for me to go over here? You have to use your green tickets to get on the ride, metaphorically with money, that's what we do in our life. And so, you have to be somewhat responsible, but you better use your green tickets, because there's a day where I see so many people that are older than us that saved their green tickets, and now they have a bunch of them piled up, but their back hurts so bad they can't get on the ride anymore. So I mean, you got to find that balance, but I definitely think we should be using our green tickets wisely. And
I think there is a balance to be had.
But the cool thing about, and that's, I had a friend of mine, Jason Phelps, who had a tremendous success. He was on tour late 90s, early 2000s, opening for Shakira, And Phelps and I started my production business, Tri-State Productions, at the time in 1998. And he said something like, because back when I was in college, I used to go back to Maryland and work for a guy to record school concerts. So we go out and do all the choir, band, orchestra concerts around the Northern Virginia, DC area. And, he'd pay me $100 every time I go out and put up a couple mics to do that. And, what my friend Jason said when we got done with college and we were here in Cincinnati, he's like, why don't we do that thing that that guy was doing? What we could buy our own mics and our own gear, and then we can use it for our band, and it was like, wow.
Instead of buying burritos or anything.
Right. And at that time I was working at Mike's Music Vintage Guitar Shop.
Put your money into something you love.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. So I wasn't making many green tickets at Mike's Music. We were making $8 an hour.
I bet you Mike loves it every time you tell this story.
But but it was a lot for a college kid. Mike knows the story, but
poor Mike. Every time we're interviewed, he tells us.
But the cool thing is I had money for Hardee's. I didn't have that. I didn't have that when I worked in radio. Mike was definitely a massive raise over working in radio. You want to talk about no green tickets? Go be a DJ for a living. But anyhow, I lost my train of thought here.
Sorry.
Yeah. What were we talking about?
How okay, let me rephrase the question.
I got it.
Okay, cool.
It was essentially just saying that, Phelps had that idea, and sure enough, we started a business. No one here was doing recording. Next thing you know, we bought a Pro Tools rig. That's when those Digi 001s came out, and, cutting tracks on Pro Tools. So I think, you know, it's again back to this whole balance thing you're talking about, you know. And then we were buying production equipment that we could also use and then utilize in our band. You know, we can manufacture our own CDs here. We can do our own artwork. And then that just manifested itself into.
I love looking at your bass room. Is
Oh,
the
yeah.
studio in your basement?
The studio, yeah.
Like, dude, like that's fucking epic.
Yeah,
It is. It is so beautiful.
It's a blessing for sure. You know, when we first moved into this house, we've lived in the house we're in since 1998. Right after we got out of college, we moved here to Cincinnati with Jeff's entire rock and roll band and me and another girlfriend, and everybody left, and we just ended up staying and never left. So it was a really dank and awful basement when we first moved in here, like water, actual like rivers flowing down the walls.
Now you know why the band broke up.
Yeah.
Instead of us saying, "Hey, did you hear that new record by so and so?" I was like, "Where's my Coca-Cola? It's not in the fridge anymore, dude." You know, and vice versa.
Underneath the carpet.
Yeah.
But one of our like first things that we wanted to do when we started having when we had our own band, and then when we started, you know, our business, our real business, our audio video business was starting to do well. We wanted to build a studio, because I think initially we thought that would be our line of work. We would just run a studio, which, you know, in the digital age, almost nobody can run a studio for a living. And but we have all the great gear, and it's a beautiful room, and people like to record here. They like to practice here, and so we just use it for our own enjoyment.
Yeah,
and it is a beautiful, beautiful room.
Yeah, most of our green tickets come from doing a video. So we have we out here.
Oh, he's just sharing.
Oh, cool.
No, it's just that you guys are awesome, and we're gonna go through this right now.
There you go. There you go. That's awesome. But
I should say honestly, y'all are awesome. Because
y'all.
I need to be. Yeah, because I really believe in that. Y'all are awesome.
Well, back there is Ryan Nottingham behind Alex's bass somewhere, and that's there's Maurice Hamilton back there.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know we had Ryan on, and he didn't say he was back behind them.
Yeah, I remember we looked at this picture. I'm almost positive because I remember the shirt tuck.
Yeah.
So that's him. No. I remember the hat.
No,
that's Daniel.
The guy
Okay, I remember pointing out the shirt tuck when we talked about this. So.
Oh no,
Yes.
I pointed out the shirt tuck.
Okay,
because I said I like
it's quality.
The loose tuck, man. I'm a fan of
we need
the
a
loose
green
tuck.
screen leather pants on Daniel for sure. You know, something
like
something
the loose tuck
cool.
is fucking awesome.
What are your thoughts on? I mean, busking. Why is busking not more prevalent in this country? Like it seems with so many artists that live. I mean, I could throw a nickel and hit a few from my house, I'm sure. But why don't you fucking go outside every once in a while?
It's totally different, you know. And that was one of the cool things about working at Berkeley. Going to Berkeley. You know, we would go down to Harvard Square. All the Berkeley guys, you know, would bail on the college, and we would take the T down to Harvard Square where all the buskers were. So that was my first real experience with buskers. Like, man, this is so awesome. You know, what a great idea. You know, and you're right. There's not really anything going on. Although, you know, our one of our main busking experiences was going down to US Bank Arena here when Paul McCartney played, and we'd already seen Paul McCartney a couple of times, but we went with our drummer who just brought like a little djembe or something, and we busked in front of McCartney with no tickets, and you know, played all our Beatles rap. And by the time the concert started, we had enough money to buy 3 tickets, and you know,
yeah.
That's how you end homelessness right there. You just give everybody an instrument.
Right.
I mean, like I have no problem throwing $1 in for some sounds that I walk by. It's way better.
They do in certain cities. I live in northern Colorado, and I work in Boulder, Colorado.
Oh, cool.
I live in Fort Collins, and like busking in Boulder, Colorado is amazing.
Yeah.
Like,
do you have to have a permit for it there?
You do.
You do.
You have to go to the Boulder courthouse, which is right next to Pearl Street Mall. So you just walk right in the door, pay them the fee, and get your busking license, and then you're done.
And then you're done.
You know,
yeah.
Like literally, you could just walk right out the front of the courthouse onto Pearl Street Mall and just start busking.
Is it like a yearly license, or you got to do it every time you like?
No,
every Friday you got to.
It's a year.
Gotcha.
And
you remember the Galleria in
you
Louisville?
see so many amazing musicians.
Yeah. Do you remember that
On
place,
the
Ryan? The
street.
Galleria that used to be in downtown Louisville. It was like the art place right downtown.
Okay, so I played one show there.
Really? Okay.
As a pianist, and I think
but they used to pay buskers to come play there.
They did.
Oh, cool.
Well, that's
Yeah.
cool.
Just to have them outside after games and stuff.
I was paid as a U of L pianist, and I I played Chopin and Schubert, I think, for that.
Nice.
Or maybe it was Chopin and Bach. I don't remember. Anyways,
So were you in Allstate when you grew up? Did you do KMEA?
For choir, I did.
Did you? Yeah. So that's one of the things we do. We record. We've done KMEA a few times, but we're subcontracted through a company out of New York to do like Texas Allstate.
That is amazing.
Yeah. So we go to see all these conventions every year. Of course, not
and
last
helping
year,
young kids. Like,
yeah,
oh, dude, that's amazing.
Yep. And so that's another way to get green tickets. But they hire us to shoot the video and the close-ups. We also do concerts where Bunbury Music Festival. So like our forecastle here in Cincinnati's Bunbury. And so we do both stages on that and, shoot all the close-ups to the screens and so forth. And that's my favorite gig.
And is that through the production company that you?
Correct. They subcontract us. Yeah. They're the space station.
I'm sorry.
That's great.
Our name of our production company is Lifeboat Digital Media.
Lifeboat Digital Media. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's usually a bigger company. They'll hire us out, and then we go and work for them.
That's sort of the way it works. But I'd rather like tout you guys. Are you all?
It's cool though. Sometimes we overlap. When we do Abbey Road on the River down in Louisville. We're doing video production. I got guys on video, and we're playing at the same time. It's so we're double dippers sometimes. We've got a show coming out here this summer in Hamilton. Yeah, we're going to be live streaming our own show.
Hamilton.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
awesome. That little DJ there. That's Wiz Khalifa.
No way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah. There's a Bruce Springsteen impersonator.
I love Wiz. I'd rather have the true Wiz.
Yes. Yes.
I don't need a impersonator.
I have a buddy who does that for Jazz Fest. He's it actually made me think of him when you're talking Prince, because he's really into Prince live bootlegs. Like, apparently it's a huge market, kind of like the Grateful Dead's live
Prince
shows
album coming out,
and it's a big deal to him. But he's able to like set up cameras and audio mics at Jazz Fest at all the different venues and record a lot of like Lettuce. He's a real big fan of Lettuce. There's so many good jazz bands he's recorded, but he has a great blog called Funk It Blog.
Oh, very cool.
But he's just an attorney, like does it because he is into the music. You know what I mean? He totally should do it full time, and I've tried to tell him to do so, but it's hard to turn down attorney green tickets. You know what I mean?
Green tickets.
That's a good source of green tickets.
Right there, waiting to happen with the green tickets.
I do love this, like that you directly state we provide new ideas.
Yes. Yes.
And digital media solutions.
Yes.
And that is just like a direct like elevator statement. It's
the digital media solutions of 2021 and 2020 would be multi-camera shooting to Zoom. So, everyone's doing the Zoom thing we're doing right now, but even today we got back doing like a little business meeting for Southern Indiana. There's like a chamber of commerce thing where everybody gets on board, and they have this main room where they're giving awards, and we got 4 cameras doing this, that, and the other, playing the videos and all that. So there's your digital media solutions. But that was not easy to figure out.
It's not easy, and that's the point. Is a lot of people don't know about that, and if you have experience doing it, that is so key.
Right.
I mean, that's what kept us alive this year is that streaming, the necessity for streaming of events. People still didn't want to let their events 100% go.
Right.
So they would.
Every musician I talk to, every artist I talk to, including myself, as I'm a recluse. Okay. I am an introvert, but damn it, I want to be out there in front of an audience again. It's just, it's a really hard thing for we artists to process.
Yeah.
People who their art requires us to haul a piano or a guitar or our own voice to a stage and then give.
Well, I can't wait to start doing it again. We're a little nervous about it, though. You know, we are definitely rusty. It's so funny. Here we are releasing
I'm rusty
3 albums
too.
in 1 year. We don't even know how to play any of the songs because we haven't been able to get together. To
Dude, I was trying to play Bach earlier, and my fingers are like, what are you doing?
Yes,
Bach with mittens on.
Yeah, I think we should get into this trip, man. I really want to hear about this trip.
All right.
How it started, came about.
Yeah, let's talk about.
I mean, it makes sense why it started, but you know where you started, who to plan the route. Was it a planned route? You know, tell me about this, please.
A lot of the plans right back through. We were hoping the whole band would come with us, you know, and we had this very positive conversation, you know, with the guys about coming along and let's all do a road trip. And you know, a lot of dreams like that always go to the wayside, don't they, in life?
Sure.
You think big and then maybe one day, you know, but we're at the point now where you know, it was the perfect time. You know, the perk of the pandemic was the opportunity and the time that you had. And thankfully we did have some green tickets saved up, you know, and made some good decisions with how we managed, you know, the funding from the government. You know, our Lifeboat Digital Media is a perfect quintessential example of a PPP business. You know, all of our concerts immediately canceled, everything completely wiped off the schedule. You know, May is the month where we, you know, accumulate most of our annual income, and that was completely gone. You know, I literally remember posting a picture of our bank statement in May and it was $0. So we did.
Boy, I know that feeling.
Can we get this, can we get this working for us? And so we applied for everything, not only as a production business, but as a band. We got all the PPP funding that we could, and we've kind of paid that forward. So the band in the van, you know, we're employing people to help do the music videos, and so that money is going back into the economy. So it's really kind of cool, you know. And I also feel like we're kind of have a record deal, you know, because
we sort of like hadn't released a new record for like 10 years, and you wonder why, but we just didn't really have the space to create, or we couldn't figure out how to make the space to create, I guess is a better way to say it. Yeah. And so now, when there's nothing but time, it opens up everything, you know. That's why we went into the back catalog so deeply, because we had almost 10 years worth of songs that we had either started recording and hadn't finished, or just, you know, the little kernel of an idea. And so we just kind of, one day we got together with the guys and the band, and like, we kind of have this idea of going out on the road, and maybe we could live stream ourselves. Like, maybe we could go, we always say the Great Salt Flats was like this idea we had, go out to Utah and set up the whole PA and all the cameras and live stream and just do a show on the Salt Flats and stream it out to the world, you know. So that was sort of the original idea. Right. And as time went on and the pandemic seemed to be getting more realistic to people who live in the Midwest, more cold feet were creeping in, and I can see why I was getting them a little bit too.
For a variety of reasons. Obviously, how are we going to socially distance? There's no better place to socially distance than the Great Salt Flats and places like that. So I think that became our model, you know, and you know, invested some of the money in a drone, which you now we can use for live events. So you know, it's
badass footage you got.
Yeah, thanks. Awesome. It's like reverse of what I did at the beginning when Jason Phelps was like, you know, let's buy this equipment and then we can somehow use it in a band, you know. And this time we bought the equipment for the band, and now I'm gonna be able to use that for my production company. That drone, you know, we can fly that out over concert fests, and it'll you know, the controller will stream 1080p real time.
Holy cow!
Our video switchers. So
did I see you running it while you were driving the van?
I was driving.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. That blew my mind.
Technology, man, it's insane.
Sorry, I'm jumping in, but I had to check on my kids. Can you throw in the chat like what drone you're using?
We were just talking drones before we.
Yeah, because I'm in the market for one.
Very good. DJI Mavic Pro 2 is what we used. And the stories of that drone, you know, there's certain things I didn't even know about until just recently. Like there's a guy did a YouTube video on how far can this darn thing go, you know, like, and still broadcast and still get home. So his
how long does it go?
That's right. So he was in Hawaii, and he said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fly it to 50% battery power, obviously, because you just like scuba diving, you need
What's
to make
the
sure
battery power on it?
get back up.
Flight time.
I don't know. I think it's right around 20 to 30 minutes, somewhere in there. 20,
that's average. 20. Yeah.
And so he flew this thing, and he was getting 1080p signal on his controller for 6 miles. It went 6 miles, and he took it to 48%. What? And that thing flew in and landed like at zero, like the screen shut off, and he had just landed it. And so I didn't know I could go that far. I was really apprehensive, you know.
Of course.
If we would have known that, I probably could have even gotten even more amazing shots. But anyhow, you know, that was really cool. The technology also with the drone that blew our minds was when we were at Devil's Tower. So there's a sporting mode it has, and I think this is what happened. I think I accidentally had it in sporting mode. And sporting mode is where you
follow me mode. Is that
sporting mode is like it takes away any kind of like safeguards.
So you know, it's like that's when you want to be the X-wing versus TIE fighter, and you guys are running.
Okay.
So I had it on that mode, and we were shooting this beautiful red river, and there was Devil's Tower in the background, this red cliff, and
I've been there.
Yeah, so gorgeous. And so I'm shooting that, and I all of a sudden catch the reflection of Devil's Tower in the riverbed. And so I went to back up to reset that shot and get a nice slow shot. And the next thing, you know, boom, 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 boom. And, you know, and then you just see it sideways, and there's like pine leaves like this, you know, and it's like, oh crap. And it had like 5% battery power left on it. And, or something like that. And it was stuck in this tree on a ridge. And so we're like, you know, a mile away in the campsite, and
Jesus.
I'm like, oh my God. So we start running, and we get to the river, and there's these tall weeds. I'm like, I'm going to get ticks all over me. Screw it. Who cares? We got to find it. You know, we ran. I powered down the joystick to make sure that we didn't lose any more battery power. When I powered it back on, it said, no, can't find the drone. And so I'm like, Mist, come on, you're the best spotter in the business. Find this thing. You know, we might have to hire a climber to go up. So we're looking, you know, it's $1,500 right there. And so we're looking and looking, can't find it. And all of a sudden the controller vibrates, and I look at it, and it says, would you like me to land? It had gotten itself out of the tree on its own, and then flew back to the place where we launched it from at the campsite. And it was like 1 foot off the ground. And I looked at, for a second, I said, all these campers are staring at it, you know, and then it just landed, or we didn't even know if it landed. The power turned off. And then we just look at each other and, you know, make the circle mouth, you know, and then we just
holy shit.
run back to the campsite, and there it is in perfect condition.
This is like going to a whole nother level here. Yeah. This is like robotics.
Yeah.
Insane. So it survived.
This is like technology surviving on its own.
Right.
Well, it did. And not everything. It couldn't survive everything, because we did end up killing it later on in the trip. And
fair enough.
We flew it into some power lines by accident.
Yeah.
Well,
you want to see the death of the drone, watch episode 7. You know, it's Sonoma, when all the fires were happening in California. That's when it all kind of started. And like, we get to Sonoma, and it's snowing ash everywhere we go.
Was that that wasn't the Paradise. Paradise was year before, right?
No. What was it called? I have it written down. I can't think of what it was called right now. But it.
I know in Colorado we've been like, so I live in Fort Collins, 5 miles away. The perimeter of the Cameron Peak fire, which is the largest wildfire in Colorado history, was 5 miles away from me, where I am right now.
Yeah.
Like the perimeter. And just like Colorado this year was so terrible for wildfires.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Right now we're at like 80% snowpack. So Colorado is going to be so bad come June, July, maybe even May. You know, and California is worse off than Colorado is right now.
It was insane just then, you know, like we get to, we get to Sonoma, and I fly the drone out to shoot the mountains off in the distance, and I hit a power line with it. Long story short, I was able to get that drone back. By the way, it was like $35 in repairs, and I did that, in February. So now we got 2 awesome working drones. But when we left Sonoma and we went down into Death Valley, and we get into almost into Las Vegas, at that point in August, it was all covered in smoke.
The smoke from California.
And Death Valley was humid. You know, I remember we went to bed at night, and I think the smoke somehow trapped something. I don't know how that could be.
No, I totally understand, because like here in Fort Collins, The Cameron Peak Fire, 109 or over 200,000 acres just burned, and nothing like California with 1,000,000 acres. I'm not talking about that, but I mean, Colorado is in a drought. But yeah, it was in Fort Collins, all the smoke just like literally 100 feet over my head.
Wow.
Everything. And then everything, it's just orange and you can't breathe. You literally cannot breathe. Like I went through 6 filters in my furnace in like 3 weeks.
That is unreal. Wow.
Yeah. I mean,
we were in Colorado when the fire hit I-70. So that would have been, there was a whole period of I-70 when we were driving back. It was one of the last days on the trip, and I just remember charred everywhere. That would have been at the end of August. It would have been like August 20-ish.
Yeah, that was the Cameron Peak Fire.
Yeah.
That's where I live. Yeah.
It's just crazy.
California is so much worse though. And let's talk about California, because California itself, like as far as wildfires, is one of my big things. It's like nature. Like, come on, we have to figure this shit out.
Right. Right.
California is really struggling. They are the most drought-ridden state in our union right now.
Yeah.
Colorado's on the map. Nevada's on the map. Obviously, Arizona's on the map. But California, as far as, the 5th biggest economy in the entire world. And we're doing nothing about it.
Yeah.
Why don't we just seed the clouds like Abu Dhabi does? And you know what I mean? They do that.
I've heard of that before, but I didn't know if it's like something that was still going on, or if it was an old fashioned.
Yeah. Oh, they do it quite frequently. Well, tourism probably reduced the use of it as much, but yeah, it was like every 4 or 5 days scheduled, like it's going to rain today because we're going to make it rain.
Wow, crazy.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
I have not heard about this.
Me either.
Yeah. They're seeding the clouds with I would assume some kind of
it wasn't that an Elon Musk thing? Didn't Musk like
Gates is doing some sun blocking shit right now? That's kind of weird, but
all that
this
shit
is strictly like
tourism
profit.
I'm not okay with any of that.
You didn't like it in the Jetsons when they scheduled the rain, or in Back to the Future 2?
But yeah, okay. I'm okay with Back to the Future.
They're just introducing whatever the clouds need to produce the rain, whatever hydrogen, or the 2O part.
I've never heard that. That's insane. Wow. Yeah, why are we not doing that?
Well,
I mean, they are scientists.
Yeah.
I think because ultimately we have mountains to deal with. We have continental divides to deal with. We have weather systems that we have to think about coming from the Gulf of Mexico, from the Pacific Ocean, the Atlantic, and the Rocky Mountains where I live. And it's just like you can't control that shit. The only thing that we can control is how we interact with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
it's just scary to think about that it just takes one guy with a match. I mean, that is so fragile,
It is, and that's how the Cameron Peak Fire to go. I'm sorry to like bitch on it, but I don't use that term in any other sense than just like terrible. Sorry, Misty.
I'm not offended.
Okay, cool.
I'm offended.
No.
I'm working.
Okay.
I've probably offended you several times.
80s, I've got a thick skin.
I'm not using that in any derogatory way, any whatsoever. But Cameron Peak Fire, that was man-made.
Yeah.
It was started at a campsite that I camp at frequently.
Oh my
They
God.
know the site it started at, and it was someone who did not put out their campfire.
Oh man.
Well, we
They
stayed.
did not sufficiently water embers.
Water the embers.
Wow.
And they left, and the campfire reignited and started the fucking largest fire in Colorado history.
That was when we stayed. Where were we when we stayed?
What's the name of the
near Aspen? Where were we?
I'd have to look at our YouTube page.
Where it was started by people shooting tracer bullets.
Yes.
That was and so we
That
stayed.
happens frequently.
Yeah. So they were, and he was shooting. He was a young kid shooting rounds with his girlfriend at some, and he had these.
They're the tracer bullets.
These modified bullets, and the modified bullet went somewhere away from the target that he was supposed to hit. And next thing you know, this beautiful mountain that we stayed near. We're always looking for what's called dispersed camping. That's a term. I think that's the key.
Let's talk.
That's abandoned.
That's where I camp all the time.
Yeah. Dispersed camping is the key to say free legal camping, but not where there's going to be showers and a bunch of kids.
BLM land.
Want them to be, yeah. So, but we went up. The best thing to do is always get the ranger's advice, and say, look, this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to film. We want to be able to run our generator so we can shoot video and do these things. And we don't want to be a burden to anybody else. And we also want to be in a private enough area where we can get some really nice footage. So they're always really cool. They'll get excited, to hear someone's filming. So they want to help you out. And they took us up to that ridge line where this kid had burned all of that area. At first it was a little disappointing because like, well, what are we going to film up there? It's pretty nasty looking, but it's skated the road she talked about skated right along the destruction. And then on the other side, it's completely beautiful. And so we got some really nice shots.
You get like encompassing views.
Yeah.
Okay, so Justin needs to talk. I'm really feeling it right now.
Oh,
but
no,
also, I'm so in tune with it. Oh my God. What you guys are saying right now is just right up my alley.
Yeah.
Seriously, because, it is about responsibility.
Yeah.
It is about, if you're a musician, a DJ, whatever you are, as a musician and someone who wants to get into the wilderness, we have to be responsible no matter how. If you're a player and you're a teacher, you're going to be responsible about how you teach. If you're a musician and a player, you're going to be responsible where you go, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to be banned in a van, then you are out in nature, experiencing something that I think many people need to re-engage with. Honestly,
a lot of people just don't even know that these places exist in our country.
They don't, and you said that in your episode. Like, they don't know that these places exist. I live here in Colorado, but many people I know in Colorado do not know the places that I go. And
every state's got them. Yeah, Ohio's got a shit ton of those spots.
Justin, go. Yeah,
crazy.
Let's talk about Brown County, Indiana.
Well, to make you feel better, I went camping this past weekend, and I put out my campfire.
Good.
It was safe. Yeah. Also threw back the fish I caught.
Hey, so, why did you do that?
Go for it.
Well, because I'm not very talented, and they were tiny bluegill.
Yeah.
If you're gonna catch
come to Maryland and go fishing with my family, you'll catch ones that are large enough to eat.
It was the first time I've ever taken one off the hook. Normally, I make my other half do it. That's how terrible I am at it. But yeah, I fell in love with it, man. It's something like I hope to do this weekend, like just somewhere locally. It's super relaxing just to stare at moving water, and I don't care if I catch anything or not, to be honest. But yeah, everybody needs some toes in the dirt from time to time.
I got 3 poles and a ticket.
All right, well,
and a ticket to Southern Indiana.
Don't take that out of context.
I don't have any green tickets for it, but
green tickets and 3 poles.
Hell yeah! So tell me, I saw you went through Sturgis.
We did.
Yeah, we were there right when the shit hit the fan there. So
That's crazy.
It was just we were out of gas, and we pulled off at the whatever the gas station was, and there were already thousands of bikers everywhere, and they were really hamming it up, and they all seemed to be having a pretty good time. But at the same time, you're like, whoa, they don't care.
Yeah.
They don't care
at all. Breathing on each other.
Yeah, and
look at them all breathing all hard.
I mean, you just knew. So the idea for us, I think, was to put the GoPro on the time warp speed, and then what we were going to do is, since we were off the exit, go through it and then out again. And so when we got down there, and then, we're pulling this trailer, it was everything, you can imagine. We did, if you see the episode, you see the footage.
We're
It's
stuck
just
everywhere we
insane.
go.
It's
Yeah.
Woodstock, nobody cares, even the cops, nobody, they all have, they're all mask free. And so we go down this wrong way and kind of get stuck right in the heart of it. And the cops had to kind of, they were helpful
Right.
and got us out of there and stuff. But
How
it
were
wasn't
they
until
helpful?
like 2 days later, I think we were in Douglas, Wyoming at the KOA, and flipped on the news and saw that, damn, talk about green tickets. I could have sold that video to, to
a news outlet.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Tucker Carlson or one of these guys. Maybe not Tucker Carlson, but maybe more like
No, you gotta go for someone else.
CNN would have
Someone
loved
else
it.
at Fox.
If you
Anderson
see-
Cooper. Anderson Cooper would have at least paid our gas tank
Yeah,
for
this
the rest of the
sounds-
trip.
Yeah.
Blitzer's territory.
Yeah, no, we're staying. No comment. But
Was it-
You
There was
had
like a
me
big
at
outbreak,
Anderson.
right?
I love Anderson. Okay.
There's a huge outbreak the following.
Well, the interesting
No, Sturgis, yes, there was a huge outbreak.
I think they talked about it as being the biggest at the time. It was the biggest super spreader event.
But let's keep it in context, because that super spreader event was in context last fall. When? October?
that
It was
was,
in early August.
yeah, that would have been like around August 10th ish.
Okay, so yeah, after everyone's feeling comfortable after the summer and the spring and whatnot, whatever.
Well,
it's still a super spreader event.
Yeah, yeah, and
The fact of the matter is, we're in a different context right now.
right,
Yeah.
right, and I mean, it was scary. It was scary enough for us, it also, you start to feel like, where are we pushing the boundaries of what should we really be doing, what we're doing. There was a big lesson going through there, and we tested the boundaries a few other times. We went to San Francisco, to meet up with a friend of ours that we met on the cruises, and
I love that town.
yeah, but it was just, we wanted to get out. I love San Francisco very much, and we will go there any other time than a pandemic. But it was covered in smoke from the fires that were coming down. And then it was just, we were going to shoot a video. We have a song of hers that's very Grateful Dead. So we were going to kind of go off that theme of Haight-Ashbury and go into the park. And it was too crowded. It just, it wasn't right. So we bailed on it.
Yeah, I just think that we had been isolating so much at home before we even left.
Mm-hmm.
And then when
Anxiety will get you.
Then we've been isolated on the road. I mean, really, it's just the two of us, except when you have to go like check into your campsite if you're going to stay at a real camp place, But so the first sight of real people, it was kind of strange. Like we didn't feel like we should be doing this. And what we were learning along the way is that the farther west that we went, it's like the word had not caught up yet. And they were much more loose with their regulations.
Yeah.
And so there would be times that we would go in places with our
not
masks
on the state level. Not on the state level.
Yeah.
Just watching the Sturgis though, like gave me anxiety, and like half the people on the video would look like all of my family members. It's like, it gave me a panic attack.
The thing is, we have wide open spaces here.
Yeah.
That's the most beautiful thing on planet Earth.
Sturgis is pretty wide open too.
Yeah.
Not very many shirts and stuff either.
You're right.
But I knew my parents had been bikers in previous decades, and they had gone to Sturgis on their own way back when, and so I already knew what to expect. And I think growing up in a motorcycle family, when we got closer, we had no intention of going to Sturgis. We were just going to zoom right through and keep on trucking. And we had to get gas, and it just so happened we got off at this gas station, the first one we'd seen in ages, and I'm like, oh my gosh, look at all the bikes. And like, here I am, this kid that grew up on motorcycles, like, look at that thing.
You can't ignore them, they're so loud.
And I'm like, maybe we can just drive through.
Take a peek.
But as soon as we hatched this plan, I immediately was like, no, let's get out. Let's get out. And then it's like we couldn't get out. We were trapped.
There's some part of you that really wants to do it.
Luckily, we've stayed healthy the whole time. We tested
nice
many times, and
I test all the time.
Yeah. And so it worked out for us. But even being there and seeing how crazy it was, we didn't realize that it made major news until we were actually, like I said, at the KOA and had internet again. And that was like, wow, we actually I could have flown my drone, and we probably could have literally sold it to a news agency. And
Sturgis any other year is like a fucking great time, I would
wow,
imagine.
I'd love it. I'd love to be there when things aren't crazy, for sure. Yeah,
South Dakota is amazing.
Yeah,
That's Sturgis, right?
did you say North Dakota?
Oh,
South
I did not.
South.
I said South.
But we've done 49 states in our time. So you were asking earlier about how we planned the trip. There a lot of it was from things we'd done in the past, and we didn't really retrace our footsteps other than the Salt Flats and a few other spots, of course, Sonoma. But yeah, I in the 49 states, I think the one that gets the kind of one of the worst raps is North Dakota, and it shouldn't, it's not all Fargo. There is Roosevelt National Park up there, and it's stunningly beautiful.
Let me talk to you about Theodore Roosevelt National Park.
You've been there?
So no, I have not. So I have been to 46 of all the 50 states.
Excellent.
Hawaii, Alaska, Mississippi, which is the big one.
Yeah.
I want to go to Jackson so bad.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And North Dakota.
Enlighten me here, though. Who's talking shit about North Dakota?
That's a very good question.
It's more like nothingness, they get the rep.
Just Bill Maher.
Yeah.
Bill Maher always loves Dakota territory.
Okay.
Theodore Roosevelt National Park, and it's in like two. It's like there's a north system for it and a south system, and they're separated by many miles.
Yeah.
And so it's a really difficult national park to navigate.
It's so beautiful.
We
didn't know about it when we got there. We just
so
at the very last minute, went, and it was
it wasn't on this trip.
Not on this trip. This is a previous trip, but it was one of those things where you're like, man, I wish we would have planned a week here. Same thing with Hawaii. When we got married, our honeymoon was in Maui, and we stayed at a condo near the resorts. That's another trick. Savvy travelers we are. If you go to a place like where there are resorts, go rent a place instead of actually going to.
I'd rather just go
because you can
buy my blanket and sleep on a beach.
Yeah. And that camping's free in Hawaii. Like everywhere you go, camping's free. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't want to submit to capitalism. That's
why I was going to say Road to Hana. The Road to Hana. That's where kind of George Harrison, George Lucas, all these people had their, the road. It just winds and winds on the northeastern side of the island, and then you get lost in this beautiful bamboo forest, and there's just black sand beaches, and you can get a little instructional guidebook, or
it used to be back in the day, you could get a CD at the gas station, and it guided you, and it told you, if you see mile marker 12, if you pull off and you hike 562 feet back,
there's a 40-foot waterfall you can jump off. So he totally did that, and it was one of the coolest things ever. But the bamboo forest is one of the greatest experiences of my life. It's just the sound of these giant bamboo hitting each other in the perfect temperatures, and it's just amazing. Right. But Hana, I would totally go to Hana if we ever went back to Hawaii, because that's where, like you said, what did you say? Capitalist. This is the place you want to go because it's true Hawaii. It's not touristy. The waves are some of the biggest you're going to see on the island too. And
not that I'm going to ride them, but I want to experience the space.
Yeah. Well, that beach was perfect because there wasn't really any coral. It was like the quintessential beach to go body surf a giant wave, and and nobody was there because it's too far away from the resort. So I loved it.
That's what our last guest is currently doing. He lives in Mexico, but he's spent the past year moving from Airbnb to Airbnb.
Nice.
Small, northern Honduras, Mexican towns, like scuba dive. They got really into that. So that's
Monterey, right?
Yeah. So that I respect the show. That's a.
Have you heard this? It's called the longest road that starts in Alaska and it goes all the way down. I think once you get to
Chile.
Well, there's at some point you actually have to take a ship because you can't get across.
Well, you can't get
Panama
across the canal.
Okay. But I think that
that's impossible.
But I think that they weren't allowing any kind of shipment of bikes or however.
Somewhere near Colombia, he had an issue where he couldn't get across.
We were watching this guy on a moped do it.
Okay.
I go deep on this, and I honestly people who are walking, they don't have nearly as much trouble. The people who have a moped or a bike, or anything they have to transport across water,
Mhm.
that's the thing. It
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
often work
They
out.
get you.
They get you.
That
I'd have to
water.
look it up. I don't even know the name of the show.
Canada has this new trail that they just opened, which I'm so excited about. It's one of my bucket list trails as a hiker that I am and a musician. Like, it starts in Nova Scotia, it goes all the way up through Whitehorse. It's the longest trail. It's like the second longest trail in the world. And there's like going through Ottawa City, Toronto, Montreal, and a little bit of Calgary. You have to like walk on bike paths and stuff like that. But otherwise, the trail is like all the way up to Whitehorse into the Arctic Ocean.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like it's a brand new trail, and like okay, that's random.
Well, that's if we were to ever do a sequel to Band in a Van, I think that the only state we haven't been to is Alaska. So I think it'd be kind of cool to document a trip through Canada. Obviously I talked about doing that, but we couldn't get into Canada because of the pandemic. But the thing that most people don't realize, when you look at coasts, people tend to minimize the distance between places on a coast, and an example of that, I remember in college, I grew up in DC, and my TA, the TA in one of the classes was like, oh, it's easier for you to go pick up a guitar. You can just go up to New York and do it. I'm like, New York? We're as close to New York here as I am in DC. It's not, maybe a couple hours.
A whole nother state to get through.
Yeah. But anyhow, the concept of doing that, I think it best say that from Cincinnati to Seattle is the same distance from Seattle to Anchorage. I think it's something very close.
Well,
that's insane.
Well,
I never realized
to Anchorage is, I think, 1,600 miles.
That's a haul.
I think it's more than that. We'd have to look it up. I mean, how can we figure this out? What's the distance from Cincinnati to Seattle, and then what's the distance from Seattle to Anchorage? I guess But anyhow, it's almost double the time, I know, and maybe it was Fairbanks. I don't remember, because then you can start getting into those situations. Well, what part of Alaska, right? But that would be a fun trip, I think, to do that and experience the Canadian Rockies. So many people, Alex in our band, Jeff Redifer, the professor at Ohio University, said the best place when he was on tour with Pure Prairie League was Banff, Colorado.
No,
Not Banff, Canada. Sorry, listen to me. What time is it?
I wanted to ask you about Rogue Origin.
South of Jasper.
Oh yeah, Rogue Origin.
Hey, good. That was good. Hey, good transition there. And have you been smoking any of it tonight?
So I'll talk
I'm a Hoosier. I don't live in Colorado. I can't speak freely.
Yeah.
But dude, what an awesome place it looks like.
Oh, it's a beautiful farm, and so we got connected with them because they were sponsoring a live stream that our video company had been working on for. It's a folk festival here in the area called Whispering Beard Folk Festival, and they get a lot of heavy hitters from the singer-songwriter community of America and Canada that come and headline it. And so they were trying to do an online thing during the pandemic and got sponsorship from Rogue Origin, because one of the bands that was regularly playing, it turns out Rogue Origin was one of his friends. He owns the farm.
Oh shit.
And so I think they were just kind of interested in creating content over the summer, and we were working directly with this guy. His name's Ray Vietti, and his band's called the Harm Brothers.
Yeah.
Amazing band.
My favorite album of last year was the Harm Brothers release. You guys should look up the Harm Brothers and check out the album they released last year. It really is. Every song is quality.
It's and Ray's a really awesome, sweet guy. And he was like, well, tell me what you guys are thinking of doing creatively during this time period. And Jeff said, we're thinking of taking a road trip with the band and, playing in remote places. And then he was like, well, let me see if I can, find some funds for you guys to do this.
Yeah.
And they had hoped that along the way we could stop in different states and do live streams for them for their kind of like signature artists.
Yeah.
Which didn't happen except for once because, everybody was canceling everything all the time and rescheduling their lives.
Throw something in
So
the
we just
chat
had to get
there.
out to the farm essentially.
Mhm.
And it's a beautiful farm.
Yeah, it's a beautiful farm. They're amazing people. You talk about green tickets. This guy, his work ethic was, just
growing
amazing.
them.
Yeah, he's growing them. He really is. But
And they're so green.
the CBD industry is taking off, as we all know. I mean, on every street corner now. Just even
There are more CBD stores than Starbucks now.
Yeah, and
How do you
I think
spell
there
it?
really is something to it. I think there is something to it. I think there's a lot of people that don't, they want to be able to get on with their lives and not feel spaced out from smoking pot, but they want the benefits of of
healing and relaxation.
Yeah, what the hemp plant has to offer,
Yeah.
and this is a company that is just it was really in the right place at the right time, and then so generous to donate and help. This thing we were doing for the Whispering Beard Folk Festival, we had recorded 5 years.
I'm disgusted. I've never heard of this, to be honest, because I've been to Friendship, Indiana a shit ton of times. I love Friendship. It's you
can get
go,
on our Lifeboat digital media page and see a lot of clips from Whispering Beard, but we accumulated all of this footage that we sat on. Only a handful of the bands took the footage, and we were like, what exactly are we going to do with this? Well, no bands could play last year, right? And so here we are with all of these concerts that are in perfect condition, that would constitute an actual performance for these bands. So we have a venue, quote unquote, for out of restreaming these things that no one's seen, and then we could go on Facebook and put up a PBS style donate to this. It worked really, really well, and people were donating all over. And then we got sponsors like Rogue Origin, and then we got also Jerry Springer sponsored that streaming event. That was he's a big folk guy here in
also Cincinnati, right?
Yeah, he supports the music community here.
Hell yeah.
So Jerry's been really, really great about that. And
I want to say he plays something.
He has a podcast. He's got a Springer podcast he's doing, and he always features folk music, or we've been on it before, so he's always trying to give a stage to people.
He's a very nice person.
Yeah.
I've certainly had my preconceived, concerns, just from, seeing Springer on TV, all the time. But he's like one of the nicest people, and he seems very interested in you and your music and when you're there, and he seems so optimistic all the time. Like he's like, how do we get your music to the world? And
that's so awesome. That is so awesome.
So you get that whole thing, about donors now, and being member supported, like public television is. And I think getting that in our heads as musicians, that is a very special thing that's happened with the pandemic, and that we should continue to focus on being member supported. One of the bands we work with is Over the Rhine, that we've done some, they're awesome. Yeah, the two streams.
I don't know them, but I know their music.
Yeah, super, very, very big following they have, and it's a very loyal following. And so they've been extremely cautious and haven't gone anywhere. And we had just had our friend Robert, who runs sound for us, was their sound man, and so he made the introduction, and we gone out to the farm a couple times and done some streams. But that's where it was at. They did it exactly right. They're member supported, and they put these streams together. And what they did, they said, here's a pre-order of the stream where you can stream it, all the time. Stream this concert, from our Vimeo site, and then we're going to live stream it once on Facebook. And in each turn, they're asking for, a asking price of $50 for the initial stream, and then donate what you can via the Facebook live stream. And it's really saved their butts. They had such amazing support, and so
I also really appreciate the donate what you can.
Yeah, yeah, that Bandcamp mentality. That's really helped us in paying for band.
That's awesome.
So the CD is alive and well, or the album is alive and well, just in different ways. If you know how to embrace the idea of saying we need your support, and both of us coming from PBS, it was kind of already there to have that. I've actually worked a few pledge drives. So
nice.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that? That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, there is. You have to eat Taco John's or whatever's catered.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So the album now you said it came out today, just You just
The
released it
second
today?
volume. Yeah. So
Okay.
we're on volume number 2, Abandon in a Van volume 2. We've got
the companion record to
Yeah.
the series.
Yeah. So it's crazy. Not only do we have this is the second album, we're working on the third one. It's literally 30 songs that we've recorded this last year and are releasing. And
there it is. There she blows.
Now that's the docu-series. Yep.
Yeah.
That's the actual member supported.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is we're closed captioning, by the way. We're closed captioning Band in a Van right now, and it's going to go to Amazon Prime. So that'll be really cool.
Attaboy, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we'll announce
or atta guys, both of you. Obviously,
right.
That's awesome.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So we just put this up, and you guys are on a page we haven't even really announced yet. I wanted to get the album stuff out of the way, and then we're gonna say, if you guys want to donate, you can own the series. We've only said it a couple times, I think, in passing before a show, but anyhow, a whole docu-series, 30 songs, 3 albums, and there's going to be, I think, at least 29 music videos. So we're insane.
Crap. Are you fucking kidding me?
That's amazing, man.
29
music videos. Yeah, we've already got. I was uploading them because we had to create the promo for the album that we just put on Facebook.
All
so
in
there's
4K.
Yeah, all
Yes.
in 4K.
Mhm.
I mean, that's a lot of time.
Yeah.
It is very time consuming. Yeah. I think
Just
I
Due to
uploading
that pandemic.
alone. I in the well, okay, yeah, fair.
Yeah, I think
That's
during the heyday of me starting to piece the episodes together, which is part of the reason we're taking a little hiatus for the last 3 or 4 episodes, not putting them out until June.
Mhm.
I think that's smart.
I mean, I had no real work to do other than my own creative passions, and now I have to start going back to work for real. But I've worked harder on this than I've ever worked on anything my entire life, or it's just, I don't know, but it's just, he's a pretty hard worker regardless. But I easily worked on it 12 hours pretty much every day since November, I'd say.
Yeah.
And at least, or I'll take a day off and then I'll make it out the next day and work 18 hours on it or something like that.
Just like everybody else, we're all, pajamas every day,
Yeah.
but we literally would get up and just nonstop. So, I mean, it's up till 4:30 in the morning. I was up till 5 o'clock in the morning, right before I went to, just a couple nights ago, putting together the promos, because not only are we editing
The shows,
making the music videos, we're our own ad agency. We have to do the ads, and we have to figure out that, the hardest thing is figuring out how to finagle Facebook into making the ad post correctly. It's insane. All the dimensions and formats you have to figure out. So
the poor algorithms that are just like identifying a random post as ridiculous.
Yeah.
And
right.
like how do you battle that with Facebook? I mean,
We got flagged for mentioning Keynesian economics. So that video cannot be viewed in North Korea or Iran.
we got flagged with Abandon in a Van. So we did the intro to Abandon in a Van. We say with all of our gigs canceled, and we show. This was I think Google when we tried to advertise the show blocked it because it says contains sensitive events, and so in the canceled lingo of one of the festivals, it might have been Bunbury, it's due to COVID-19 this has been canceled, and there's something about mentioning COVID-19 and how it could be sensitive to certain people.
Absolutely.
I
had people post on Facebook all the time about, okay, so go do this. This is responsible. Wear your mask. And then Facebook flags it as COVID-19 information. This is what we want you to know.
Wow.
And
I didn't even realize that.
Wow.
Have you ever had that happen?
Hey, you're running out of space to scream into an empty hallway.
Well, we've had stupid things happen, but you have to spend, and then you have to spend, an hour talking to Google support saying, this is a known issue with this series that it's shutting down because of this, lingo about COVID-19, which is, you can't even read it. And so they've been cool about it and they let it go every time, but it's still a pain in the ass every time we try to put an episode up and advertise it. And I have to go through the same routine. I could probably take that slide out of it, but
you want to.
And then there was something where we said, watch all the series on YouTube. and there was a YouTube logo that we used, and some Bangladesh TV station claimed ownership of this frame that had the YouTube logo on it. Like they owned the YouTube logo, and it was shutting down the Facebook live stream every time we streamed an episode at the end of the episode. So it's like, how many people were watching that it just cut off, and so we had to email Bangladesh and go, what the hell? How do you own the YouTube logo? Come on, guys.
Yeah. How far out of you from the chaos are you? Sorry, Ryan. Like, are you Justin. 2 weeks from being in that chaos? Are you a month out?
For being like back into real world. Oh,
well, no,
my arm in my chair just fell off. I think that's a signal that I've sat in my office too long.
Yeah, we'll let you get out of here. But
oh no, I just been working on the series.
Yeah, the break between working on it and now, like, how long has it been since you were in that grind of?
Even this last week, I was still trying to we were still trying, when the show's going to air on first stream on Friday, we were still
4:30 in the morning
on Thursday, So early on, I had a really good stride. I was ahead like 4 or so episodes, but as it went on, I kept seeing the gap just getting shorter and shorter. And I kept thinking to myself, okay, I've got 14 days to finish an episode before it airs. Can I do it? Mm-hmm. And then it was like, I've got 10 days. Can I do it? And it was becoming, for me, it was quantity versus quality. It's like, yeah, I can churn an episode out if I have to meet this goal, but is it going to be the episode that I want it to be?
And the same thing goes with the music. So, every song, we're super happy with every song. It's not like volume 1 we put all the good ones on volume 1. In fact, the volumes are just really in the order that we recorded the videos. So there's not really any connection with what songs are put on what, other than that, and it turned out that the way we went about it was really kind of cool. The songs really fit well together, the first 10 songs. And then this new volume 2 fits really well together. There's a mix of electric rock and roll with the acoustic back near a campfire type song,
Yeah.
And we really don't want to sacrifice the time it takes to make those things sound the way we want them to,
No, I'm with you there. That was kind of my question. Like, are you scared of the upcoming lull?
No, I mean? Like, maybe for losing viewers, but that would be the main thing. And like, if we've got steam and then people forget about it, that was the main concern. But
I think you're going to be fine.
What I'm hoping is it actually has time to grow it a little bit. That if we advertise and stuff, hopefully
shift focus. Yeah.
Focus. Yeah. I think that's a good word, because 2020 has taught us that we should focus.
Being a musician is that way, though. The thing that producing, sometimes one of the things I say to the people, because we're so guilty of this too, until now. And so think of like your original music as being equivalent to running for office, right? So you have to go through all of these, you have to fill out all these campaign forms, then you have to create the content, and you build up this beautiful album. You work your ass off, you bring all these people in, you record, you mix, you master, and you're so exhausted when you're done with that I see so many people that don't do the most important part and promote it right after it's done. And that's like, winning the election, being elected president, and then, sitting on your ass and you're too tired to actually do your job.
Well, we're not going to get into that. But
right.
Oh,
no. Yeah, not talking about any current politics or not politics before. I'm just using the analogy seriously.
I understand.
Because for me, I like that brain high intensity.
Yeah,
that super focus, I call it. You know what I mean? And when I anticipate any kind of drop or decline in that, it gives me anxiety.
Yeah, I get it.
Because it's like, what do I need to shift my focus to, and how quickly can I get there? Because I don't want to hit that spot.
I think,
despite how appealing it seems sometimes, like I could easily have a fucking seat and play some Xbox, you know what I mean?
Right.
For a few days.
I do that. I'm a good relaxer,
Same.
I am a master of leisure. and I probably could have been way more prolific for the rest of my life if I had the focus I have now. But I've just kind of, happily lazed my way through life, and
everybody's got their own pace.
Yeah.
once you recognize your
That's
pace,
the key. That's
yeah,
the key.
you're like, all right, it's time for me to get this shit bag moving again. Let's
Yeah,
fucking,
exactly.
Right.
yeah.
Well,
but also
I
I think I think
sorry, go ahead,
2021, 2022 is going to turn into a couple of years. Hopefully, we're currently living in one of them where live space is going to be so much more important.
Mhm.
And I don't know how to get there like responsibly from a health sense,
Mhm.
but everyone craves that now. Musicians, most importantly, for me,
Yeah.
the people that I know that want to play in front of an audience,
Bonnaroo's in a month.
want
I
to
think.
interact with an audience, want people want to buy tickets to go to Bonnaroo, like that kind of shit. It's just like it's so important to people's lives. And
Have you guys looked at the VR world? We were just talking about that. I think that goes right in there because that's
what's VR world? I
VR
don't even know
world?
what that is.
it's basically the same thing, but instead of live venues where you're standing next to somebody, you're in a VR
Virtual reality.
room standing next to a virtual somebody.
I think
Put
Yeah.
that in an RV.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's just insane what you can do now. I mean, just even talking about that drone and what we were able to pull off, it would have taken a whole film crew to what, 3 years ago, it would have taken a whole film crew to pull off, a jib. You'd had to bring the van out to do that. There'd be more generators involved. That drone, has just, created the ability for two people to do an entire docu-series by themselves. I hear war stories about Ewan McGregor, or you even see it during his, I don't know if you guys have ever seen The Long Way Around. That's a great documentary. And then there's The Long Way Down. So Ewan just, takes his green tickets and says, I'm not acting for a while.
It's another motorcycle extravaganza.
And he decides to drive.
I saw it. Yeah.
Yeah,
I love
it's
it.
freaking
It's great.
amazing. But then half of the story is about the film crew getting stuck, and if Ewan did that documentary now with the drone technology that's out there and the solar technology and whatever, he would have had a much better time. It would have gone a lot quicker, I think,
Yeah, we were talking about it earlier, just as an avenue to connect to people that don't want to leave that comfort, don't want to leave that bubble.
Yeah.
I'm kind of, it's easy to admit that I'm one of those bubble. I got a good bubble. I've been in my bubble for a while. I kind of like it. I enjoy going places, but I don't particularly want to be breathed near anybody. You know what I mean? I don't want anybody breathing anywhere in my vicinity. And, it's still.
I have my zone right now. I have my bubble.
But last night I watched the Lakers Charlotte Hornets NBA game with like 30 people in VR. Best screen you could ever ask for, like 4K quality, like humongous, as big as you want it screen. I talked to them like they were sitting next to me.
No way.
What row were you on?
It was just it's called Venues. It's just a VR app that's, the NBA is like a partnered with it, they stream so many games through it, but that's a huge lane that is being traversed right now. Like I was telling him, there are open mic nights, like comedy clubs, going at all hours. There's live talk shows in VR. It is insane the amount of people that are in virtual reality.
The visor things,
like the Oculus and all that.
I've never put one of those on. I'm afraid.
It makes you realize that we live in a simulation.
It was really bad.
Yeah.
The one time I did.
Because when you take it off, you're like, all right, how do I take this other one off? Because there's, it really opens your eyes to that simulation theory stuff. But
it really does.
I think there's
thousands of people there.
Maybe sick, disabled people in whatever way, that people that weren't able to fulfill their bucket lists, that's going to open up such a happy state of mind for people that could be suffering.
Injuries,
That's really cool. Wow. To be able to attend a concert or something, just I can't even imagine.
But I also think we should make people attend concerts, or at least allow them to attend.
Oh, of course.
And but
there are still going to be people
VR is a whole nother avenue to experience live music, I guess. It literally is, because with 5G and whatever else, we can experience live music.
Yeah.
I
It
don't know
feels
if
like you're there.
That's amazing. And we should embrace that, you know.
the thing though that I would miss is that sort of energetic field of seeing a live show. You know, you feel it, the compression and
It's back to the gospel thing, that energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I don't
The
think I
gospel thing, but I don't think that technology is very far behind.
No.
Yeah.
would, your body's going to be able to feel the sound.
Yeah.
Oh,
They
you're
have
gonna be
haptic
able to
suits
feel it.
and-
Amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
haptic vest.
Yeah, the
They're-
suit.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're gonna put a sensor on your temples, and that shit's gonna like
Vibrate your body.
access your nervous system.
Wow.
And then smell-o-vision comes along.
That's when the porn gets real good. Yeah,
Welcome to
smell-o-vision will be
sniff.com.
epic.
Don't look
And
that
then,
up. It's
and
always
then we're
on the-
straight back to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm real excited about it. I'm a big nerd, so I'm excited about that whole lane of potential there because it's
Yeah.
just the content creators' wet dream. It seems like because there's
Well, what
so
you
many-
can do with things, you know,
Yeah.
navigating, you know, that so there's the things that the drone wasn't intended to be used for. You know, I've seen, you know, just on a side note, I saw some video of firefighters in some Asian country were using the drones to put out a fire on a building. The whole building was engulfed, and they took these
Just
drones.
recently, a couple weeks ago.
And yeah, and they were showing how that
Oh, yeah.
technology worked out. But for us, you know, in camping and being people that, you know, want to go on hikes, you know, so just imagine you're doing that trail in Nova Scotia or whatever, and you get to a point where you're like, where should I camp here, or should I go over the next ridge and maybe there's something better? Well, the drone is that navigator, and you launch the drone in the air and you find spots where that you would never find on your own, and that really helped us in camping. You know, when we went to the Great Salt Flats, there was a Speed Week was going on, so there's people doing 480 miles an hour down in the Salt Flats,
Oh,
and
shit.
of course that brought, you know, as you're still socially distanced, there's people around every ridge, you know, camping, and so we took the drone out and found a spot near a cave, and it just
Yeah, let you be an eagle for a minute. You know,
Yeah,
just like, take a
absolutely.
peek.
yeah. So even if you're not doing, you know, you're not filming something, having
Yeah.
that drone as a tool of navigation is well worth it. You know?
I'm
Yeah,
just jealous of my kids, like growing up with it and being used to it as like
Yeah.
normal. You know, I'm still AOL got mail sounds in my head. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Here I was, I had to learn Vito Bratta through tablature, and now they have some guy actually putting his fingers, you know, in
Dude.
YouTube going, you know, I mean, just imagine what it would have been like.
Speaking of VR piano teacher,
Mhm.
classical piano. So you put it on, literally sit at your own keyboard. The
Uh-huh.
VR will create an overlay onto your keyboard.
Really?
So yeah, and it will show you, you know what I mean? It literally like an instructional, you know, visual.
Yeah.
Touching your, it is mind blowing.
And then Ben Folds did something for GarageBand when that came out. There was a tutorial, and I don't know, I doubt they're still doing it, but
Yeah, he
GarageBand
did.
started doing.
Yeah, I remember that.
And he
Yeah, I
did
have
Zach
Rock
and
Band.
Sarah. He showed you how to play Zach and Sarah, and it's literally Ben Fold from
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
angle. And you could slow it down. And you
That's
know,
awesome.
the pitch didn't change despite what I just said. You know?
There's another one I have that I had
Yeah,
Neil Peart.
But this
Oh yeah,
is
Neil Peart.
level, though.
Yeah,
Neil Peart, yeah.
there's a whole app for Neil Peart's drum set. It's just you sitting at his drum set
At 28 Tom.
at a Rush concert. You know what I mean? Like
It's
it's
amazing.
yeah, and you
That's
actually,
amazing.
you know,
I don't mean that in
it's
disparaging.
making
way.
all the right sounds. You know what I mean? All the
he was-
drums sound exactly how they should. and
Wow.
it is amazing.
in his freaking 20s.
What's
Yeah.
that?
Neil Peart
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
in there.
That's
in his 20s,
incredible.
just like
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he has an octopus arm in there somewhere doing
Yeah.
something.
Yeah,
behind
I
the
know.
scenes.
I think so.
That is not real. He's too good.
It's not.
It's
Yeah.
infuriating.
The future is now. I guess that's our one of the
Yeah.
things we say all the time. It's really cool to be living in the future, you know.
So where can we find the album? Is it all over the place right now?
Yeah, both albums are on Spotify, YouTube, and the like.
Okay.
You know, we do the
Apple Music.
Apple Music, of course, any of the standard digital service
YouTube?
providers, and then you know we're doing the Bandcamp member supported. If anybody
Okay.
wants to buy the album, they can go to Bandcamp and buy it there. Of course, you know iTunes is still hanging on by a thread, but they can download it on iTunes. And
You would prefer
think we're-
Bandcamp, I would assume.
what's that?
You would prefer Bandcamp for the support.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what we need to suggest then.
Yeah, Bandcamp's pretty special. You know, they've got a really good business model, and it's really turning bands into PBS. You know, that PBS mentality. You know?
And isn't there like a
I
day-
love that.
does it without fees?
Yeah, they had. I don't know if that's. I'm still very new to it.
Special dates.
But yeah, you know, they had something like there was a bunch of people who held out buying the pre-release of the album until Friday of last week. They said, I'm not buying it until Friday because the band did all of the fees.
Hold on.
Oh shit, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I don't know how often they do that. If it's every Friday or just periodically.
Yeah,
that's a big deal.
Yeah,
it is.
Yep, it's a really good business model, you know. And it's, you know, and I think the idea of buying an album or something, we're all needing support. You know, I think that's the future. You know, I do think that the streaming technology, yeah, there you go. There's volume. That's volume 1, right?
Yeah.
And I think I need to change volume 2. It still says pre-release, but because we've just.
Well,
I really like the logo artwork.
Thank you.
He did all that.
Thank you. Yeah, we're our own design firm too, by the way. Yeah.
Hell yeah. We have an in-house artist here at a tribe called Chum. we definitely.
I saw your Facebook page. Looks amazing. All the art and merch you guys are selling. That's super cool stuff there.
Yeah, man. I enjoy talented people, man. I like to hang out with them as much as possible.
Yeah.
It makes me feel stupid, but it gives me shit to listen to and look at.
Yeah.
Learn.
Yeah.
You know, it's a good time.
Me as well.
Yeah, I will definitely keep sharing the shit out of your stuff. You know what I mean? Whatever I can do to help, you know, support what you guys are doing because it's fucking good time.
Well, thanks for chumming in and complimenting us and
nice. Yeah, and I'm right here in Indiana. I'm really Clarksville, so right next to Albany. So if you're ever in town,
you come out and partied with us last night.
Well,
had I known, yeah. I'm old with.
Do you happen to be there the first week of June?
We're there the last week of, we're there for Memorial Day weekend. The Abbey Road on the River is doing Penny Lane in the park in Jeffersonville. And they hired us to do the Saturday and Sunday of Memorial Day weekend. So that's, what is that? The
29th and 30th.
Yeah, 29th and 30th.
But I think you and I are actually staying through because we've got some video gigs.
Yeah.
I think we will be there the first week in June.
Yeah, we're there
shit.
for quite a bit of time.
Well, maybe
barbecue, beers, and music at my house.
There you go. Deal.
That sounds good.
Ryan will be here, right? You'll be here that week?
I will be there. I haven't been back to Louisville. I grew up in Louisville.
Yeah.
I haven't been back since, well, it's been over 10 years.
Really?
It's time to come back, you know.
Yeah. We'll get old Ryan Nottingham over.
Nottingham.
Hell yeah.
We never talked about some mutual friends, but, you know, maybe at that trip. I will.
Yeah. It's the world keeps getting smaller, and we're down there so much now. I mean, we almost should have a place down there.
But I have to say peace and love, Rachel.
Yeah,
I was wondering if you knew Rachel or not.
Funny you mentioned that. She's right over here. I don't know if you can see her on the wall there. This is my office, but
that's Rachel Blanton.
Yeah.
Wow.
She was when she passed away. You know, the next day was supposed to fly to Miami and play with us. We're at that time on tour doing the Beatles Love album with Ryan, Maurice, and a band from Canada. And next thing you know, Christmas Day, I mean, she was gone, you know, and Maurice had to fly in the plane, you know, and she was going to be sitting right next to him, you know, and I remember having that conversation, like, what it'd be so hard for him, but just to think of the person that sat in that seat, you know, I mean, it's just such a very hard time. She was so looking forward to it, you know, we had a sold out crowd at the casino in Miami, and it was just and there's this picture, the photographer came, and, you know, the question was, do we pay tribute to her at the concert? And are we going to bring people down by doing that? And so right before the encore, we told everybody what had happened, that she had passed away suddenly. And there's this huge gasp, you know. I said, no, you know, and it was like, we're telling you because we want you guys to celebrate with you know, her as she, you know, as she was, because she wanted to be here.
So brilliant and bright.
Yeah. And we closed with the Joe Cocker version of Help from My Friends. And, you know, we need your help to get through the encore. And we put up a big shot of her on the screen, and everybody was just, you know, just so it was a very special time. There's a picture of Ryan from that night where he had to be Rachel, because Rachel had all of the books, all the charts for the entire Love show. And so we had to get all that together. And then Ryan had to instantly become the music director. So there's a shot of him playing his trumpet in one hand and conducting half hired string section. And it's one of my favorite pictures that that we've ever taken. It's just amazing.
That's amazing, man.
I want to see that.
Wow. And that's great. So that's her artwork?
No, somebody did a drawing of her.
Oh, wow.
When she had an Irish artist named Georgina Flood. She does a lot of rock and roll portraits.
Georgina Flood's art is awesome.
And she was coming to the Abbey Road Festival as an artist and exhibiting. And Gary Jacob, who runs the festival, asked if I guess he must have commissioned her to do Rachel's portrait. Mm-hmm. And they had these little posters. They're like a dense poster all over the whole grounds and just like stuck all over the whole festival. And they let me have one when the festival was over. So now we take it with us whenever we play at Abbey Road and have.
When we do the love show, we bring.
So every time you go to Abbey Road, you take that.
Yeah,
that's beautiful.
Oh yeah.
We've
actually. It's been a fucking pleasure meeting you.
We forgot it one year and we sent somebody here to the house and had them bring it to us.
Wow.
I didn't mean to end it on a bad note, but
no, that's a good note.
So I'm so glad this turned into a good note. Exactly.
Yeah.
And like that,
truly a pleasure, guys.
That meant a lot to me.
Oh, thank you guys. You guys are so nice.
This whole time has meant a lot to me. Thank you for joining.
Absolutely. So likewise. Like good to get to meet both of you.
Yeah,
for sure.
What you're doing to kind of elevate artists and writers and musicians and trying to spread the word out to your audience. Thank you.
It's just wanting to be around cool people to do cool shit. That's all. You know what I
mean? People who live with passion are the people who we love.
Yeah.
I don't like boring too much.
Boring is bullshit.
Yeah, and seriously, don't be a stranger. I'll shoot you my number so you have it and text me anytime you're in town.
Deal.
Always got fridge full of food and a bunch of kids and a bunch of nonsense, but we'll have a good time doing it.
I think by the time we get to Memorial Day weekend, I think things are going to feel a little more on the up. They already are, but by that point, I think we're all going to be able to kind of enjoy life again.
Hell yeah. Definitely got a grill, so let's do it.
Cheers.
All right, guys.
Have a great
rest of your night.
You guys have a good night.
You as well.